Hello and welcome to Tonalist Painting with M. Francis McCarthy. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy, and welcome as well to day 20 of 25 days of tonalism. The study I've done today is painted after John Enneking, and the name of his painting is Fall at Dusk. And I did a few John Ennekings in the 100 Days of Tonalism. I really like John Enneking. Sometimes he's a bit hit or miss. This piece, I think, certainly falls in the tonalist genre, but he would also work in an impressionist style. I prefer to class him as a tonalist, but here I've got I did a little search online, and here we are, Vos Galleries. They've got a little blurb about him. And then I clicked on the painting. There's another interesting comment there about him. John Enneking, 1841 to 1916. John Joseph Enneking, a man ahead of his time, had a stylistic foot in both the pre-impressionist and impressionist worlds of the late 19th century. They're leaving out tonalism, but whatever. An 1873 sketch of Madame Monet bears evidence of his work as perhaps America's earliest impressionist painter. But he also knew Edward Manet and studied with the great French Barbizon teacher Charles Francis Daubeny, as well as with Eugene Boudin. Daubny's really good. I'm going to put a link to this gallery, and you can check it out. But I want to click on this other. I clicked on the painting. There was a nice little description of his work. Beautiful painting too that was on the site. It said Enneking perfected his own style to such an extent that those conversant with this technique can identify his works without hesitation. Robert C. Vos, a young art dealer during Enneking's later years, wrote about his style. He loved autumn with her glorious auburn tresses, and he loved twilight from her flaming sunsets to her tenderest afterglows, for his keen senses thrilled with love of color. Equally delightful are his groups of trout brooks, pastoral and blossom time, and mountain views. Last, chronologically and dearest to the artist's own heart, are the moods, a lovely series of impressions of nature, subtle, subjective, tonal harmonies, which will take high rank in American art. And, let's face it, if your work's about tonal harmony, we can just call you a tonalist. A lot of impressionist work is not in tonal harmony. Just like, a day outside at 12 o'clock noon tends not to be in tonal harmony. You could make an argument, and I have heard artists make this argument, that nature never screws up. However, to me, that's an uninteresting time to paint, and I really prefer twilight and afterglow and evening and late afternoon or really early morning, times when the light's changing rapidly, and this is one of the reasons why I choose to work in the studio for the most part. Cloudy days are good too, and we have quite a few of those out here in New Zealand, so I'd like to paint more of that kind of thing, actually misty days, cloudy days. We'll see how it goes. Speaking of how it goes, you're probably wondering how it's going in the studio. By the way, I should say it's actually Friday in New Zealand. I'm a little ahead. I had a little extra time, so I thought I'd jump in and at least get the video portion of the 25 days blog post and video cast done. So we're a little early, but this won't be going up till Saturday, so be the same difference to you. But it's been a pretty good week in the studio. I've been doing the burnt umber thing, and I've stepped up to some larger sizes. I've been working all week on 10 by 14s and 12 by 12s. Now 12 by 12 remember I'm painting on top of old paintings, so some of these 12 by 12s are actually kauri ply, kauri being a type of wood popular out here in New Zealand, And actually, I'm getting Fijian kauri because most of the kauri here in New Zealand was cut down, and so what is left they tend to preserve. And actually, only native people can harvest it. So very interesting. But it's a nice grained wood, and as I've discussed in the past, I work on a it's actually MDF laminated with kauri. And I find this to be a super stable, non-warping substrate. However, I was working on kauri ply for a long time, which is, you can't say that about it. It's lovely to work on, but out of the gate it's warped. It's always warped. There's a lot of stress in it. I think it's designed to be nailed to something. It's marine ply. It's very tough stuff. Very difficult to break. As is actually this MDF's not so easy to break either, although I haven't stomped at that many of those, so maybe I've had better luck, but it's rare that I stomp on a painting and throw it in the trash. Generally I do what I've been doing this week, which is sand them down, and in this case lately I used to just sand them down and then paint a new painting right over the top, but I find that a little disorienting when you're trying to paint something new over something old that's not, uniform. That's what got me into thinking about this. Well, it wasn't even burnt umber. I just took some raw umber and some burnt sienna and mixed them together and painted over the top of a painting, and then it occurred to me, well, this is burnt umber, which it is, and I still actually don't even have burnt umber on my painting palette because I can get it so quickly just by mixing raw umber and burnt sienna together, not to mention the fact that it's the color of the ground I'm painting on top of anyway, so there's plenty of it there in the painting. Anyway, so 10 by 14s, and I got it off to a good start with a 12 by 12, all of which I got done. I have had a couple instances this week where I've had to do half the painting one day and then come in and do the other half the next day. And typically that's the sky. It'd be the breaking point, kind of like almost what we're looking at in the video right now. But I'll always paint the sky in first since it's behind the trees. It just makes sense to have the trees overlapping the sky. And then, of course, in my second and third color passes, it hardly matters because everything's dry that I'm painting on top of. So there I might just be doing some texturizing and adjusting of things and what have you. But I'm happy with the way this week's been going. As a matter of fact, I think I've done a painting that I didn't expect to turn out really as good as it did, but it looks really good. It's, if I don't say so myself, and it's, well, I have a title for it. It's going to be called Other Side of the Mountain, so I'm sure you'll be seeing it at some point in this blog. Maybe not too long because, geez, things have been moving really rapidly without having any studies done for this stuff I've been doing. That's already removed a ton of time that I would normally spend, and again, the drawing stage, I've just basically been doing a drawing with black on top of the umber tone, and then pausing the video and then jumping in and getting right into the painting. So, and because I'm painting on a darker substrate, darker ground, I have to go a little slower. I have to make sure things are covered up, a lot more so than I was with the burnt sienna, and it's not so bad. Also, for this reason too, I've been using mostly a 6. With sizes like 12 by 12 and 10 by 14, I did use an 8 quite a lot, but I'm not as focused on sort of kind of bigger, more fat, expressive brushstroke as I am about sort of laying things down in a more tile-like way and really focusing on my color modulation, which I always do anyway, but it's ongoing. Anyway, it's been a good week. I'm going back in tomorrow to do the rest of this 10 by 14 I started today, and hopefully some other work. And you'll be glad to know that I just those of you that follow the blog and the videos on YouTube, you'll be glad to know that I just finished today my the last of my 25 more days of tonalism. So looks like that'll be 5 weeks in the future here. Since this is day 20, we got another 5 or maybe more days of this, and then that gives me probably enough time to get my photography done and get things set up all video wise and what have you. So you can look forward to that if you enjoy seeing me do the studies after the masters. Anyway, I can see we're getting close to the end here. Thanks for joining me today. Go to my site, landscapepainter.co.nz, to follow my blog and stuff. Also, please subscribe if you enjoy these videos, and I'll be back tomorrow with one of my own pieces. So meanwhile, take good care and stay out of trouble.